And what is up, guys? Robert here, bringing you another video for Friday, October 24th, 2025. So let's get started. So the top story today is PS5 surpasses sales for the PS3 era. Looking pretty good. I mean, PS3 had its struggles when it first came out, but now PS5 is surpassing it. And I remember the days of the PS3, man. Such a great console. But it's good news to hear PS5 is surpassing that console. PS5 is just killing it right now. I mean, they are having a lot of success. We're starting to see software, they're selling a lot. They're doing a lot better than what anybody expected. So hopefully PlayStation can continue on that pace, outsell PS4 and, even outsell the PS2. I don't think so. I mean, it's 5 years. It has taken 5 years to beat the sales of the PS3, but it's also, it's getting there. But it's super exciting to hear. So I'm excited about it, but still no games. But hopefully that changes going into next year. But we'll see. So congrats on PS5 outselling the PS3, my favorite console of all time. Good news there. And I want to take the moment before we go into our next segment. Hey, our goal right now, trying to get to 100 subscribers. So, hey, keep watching, keep pushing, keep following, keep liking. Let's try to get to 100 by the end of the year. And, keep bringing you guys gaming news every single week. So giving you guys that shout out right now. So let's hope to make that happen, guys. So a former PlayStation executive, Shohei Yoshida, came out and said with the PS6 you could barely tell the difference that with what he's hearing and what he's seeing. Like, there's not much of a difference between the PS5 and PS6. He does believe, though, that they shouldn't focus on graphical upgrades, because what we're seeing, though, is that the casual gamer may not be interested in something like that. They're more interested in gameplay and things like that. And a lot of people can't really tell a difference if you go side by side, like as you're playing your game. Might not be able to tell the difference between what the PS5 and the PS6 would look like. So focusing on graphical upgrades might not be something that you want to be able to do going into this next generation. And you think, like, the PS5 is already powerful enough. How much more powerful does it need to get in order for you to continue to dominate the console market? So I think that's a good point there. I don't know. We're still in that rumor phase, and speaking of rumors, there was a rumor coming out that said the PS6 would probably be about $499 at release. To me, I think that's a good price point. I think it's something that you need to price this console well, because with the backlash that we're starting to see with like the Nintendo Switch 2 and what Xbox is doing, I think pricing this next console for the PS6 will do wonders for PlayStation, help them continue to dominate the market. And I think, $500 is a good price point for a console like this, especially too if it is, the rumors are true, and it's like less powerful than the next Xbox. Then why would it need to be $1,000 like what we saw with the Xbox handheld and things like that? So hopefully rumors are true. Hopefully Yoshida here, he's seeing something that we all like. Sometimes when I went from the PS4 to like the PS5, you could see the graphical upgrades, you could see the differences, the speed of the games and things like that. Like, they started to push that. If you remember, they'd put like the Spider-Man right next to each other, and how much Spider-Man would load quicker on the PS5 than it did on the PS4. So things like that, like, you wouldn't notice those things. But imagine now you take Spider-Man and you put it on the PS5 to the PS6. You might not be able to tell the difference between the two, and upgrading and trying to make it powerful like that to tell the difference between the two might not be something that good going into the next console life cycle. So Good news there, though. We're all excited to hear about a PS6, and I just can't wait. There was another PSN outage, but not the one you would think of. It wasn't the one we saw in 2011. It's actually the Amazon services went down globally for everybody. So whatever services were on the PSN had on that network was temporarily down. There wasn't anything that I heard that was, affect like your credit card information or any security breaches of getting your info. So it wasn't big like what we saw in the past, but it did kind of disrupt people's gaming habits, and people could not connect to the PSN and play their favorite games temporarily. But it's fixed now, so good to be able to hear that, and good to be able to bring that to you guys, to give you guys a good news update. So there was another former PlayStation executive, Megan Morgan. She is saying that companies, especially PlayStation, should focus on AAA games, and while they're doing that, should also focus on small title games, because usually what she's saying is what is happening is you're throwing in all your budget into these big AAA market games, and then at some point you might not be able to bring your money back for what you were hoping to bring back, and then you end up kind of failing the game. And then like you see, let's say Concord, for instance, you threw all this money into Concord failed. Now what do you got to do with that? You don't have anything to recoup your money back. You have to use that as write-offs now, things like that. Whereas if you were building at Concord, not a AAA game, but let's just say it was a AAA game, but then you're building something smaller, this smaller game might actually be really good. And because Concord failed, this smaller game may recoup the money that you spent on Concord. And it also helps with developers to be able to come up with new ideas, because you got to think. One of the things I brought up in the last console life cycle is, you think of Horizon Zero Dawn, for instance. Like, if somebody didn't come up with that game, and it's popular as it is now, if they didn't take a risk on it and a chance, it would not have been as popular as what we see it today. And I think that's what we need to start seeing in gaming, is innovation. We need to start seeing Sony taking risks of being able to say, you know what, I'm going to build a smaller game, and if it does well, great, and then we have another franchise we can expand on. We can make the money there, and it become popular among fans. But I see that you start to have, your budgets, you throw so much money at these larger budgets, and then you don't have innovation for these games, and now it takes you this bigger game 5 years to make, and then you could have taken a smaller game maybe 2 years, and you could recoup your money back faster. So I'm always for the market that you should have multiple projects. I think when PlayStation when they're coming up with ideas and they're saying, okay, we're gonna have the Wolverine next year, they should have 2 or 3 smaller games already planned leading up to Wolverine. So just in case the Wolverine failed for whatever reason, you have your backup plan. So I think it's good news there. I'm always a fan of that. So definitely be able to get more games out, which is always what we want as a gaming fan. So good news there. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? You think there should be more smaller games leading up to bigger game developments? So let me know your thoughts. There was an interesting, I did a video this week. There was actually a new PlayStation Store update, which is great. Now they've added a feature that you could be able to see what the sale was of your favorite games within the last 30 days. I did see some of the flaws in it, but it's an early mode, and I think it's here to stay. It's interesting to see for consumers to be able to decide what games they want to get. So what they ended up dropping was they have a low price feature. So when you click on your title on the main page, you can see what the game is currently selling for, and then last 30 days of what it would look like. So, I'll show you an example I had with Gears of War. You could see the price of what Gears of War is selling for, and then the price of what it looked like for the last 30 days. But I think that's a pretty cool feature. I did see a couple flaws though. Is like, one, I was trying to look it up on the PlayStation app, and I couldn't see those features on the PlayStation app. Kind of similar to with the reviews. You can't see the reviews really on the PlayStation app as well. You can't write reviews. Even on the website, I went to the PlayStation website, and I couldn't even see that function as well of being able to determine what was the lower price. So I saw this only as a console thing. If you guys see it differently, let me know in the comments. But I only saw it as a console update, that there was not any that you could see these changes, as well as when you were looking at things like DLCs and looking at like season passes. They also didn't tell you what the price was for those in the last 30 days. So like I said, I think it's an early mode, still being able to get things developed that they need to be able to help, you be able to make a better choice when you're buying your games. And yeah, hopefully it's a feature that is here to stay. I think it is. I like the feature. It's a good feature, because sometimes you're looking at games and you're like, oh, that's a good price, but maybe within the last 30 days there was a better price. And I know that a lot of times too, there are other websites that can kind of show you what the overall lifetime of how much that game sold, so you can wait. But sometimes people are on the store and they're looking for a game to play, and they're scrolling through and they see a deal that they think might be good. And so having a feature like that to tell you, if it's good or not, could be able to help you make better buying power. I mean, that's your money. You want to be able to get the best deal possible. But like, you think sometimes they do these deals back to back. Like, you have, save 75% on the Planet of the discounts, and then save 75% on, the summer of the discounts, things like that. And they might be selling the same game through those discounts. And sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, I wanted to buy the game last week and I totally forgot. Well, is it the same price, or did they raise it up by 10%? So like, things like that I think would help consumers spend their money much better for games that they want to be able to get. So I'm super excited about that. Is pretty cool is there was a console update recently, and check this out. So console 25.07-12.20.00 update. You download this, and it kind of gave you your console to be able to check your serial number of your console and your DualSense. So I think that's pretty cool. Now you can see what the serial number is if you're somebody who likes to document that, be able to have it as record. And so basically what you have to do is you have to go to your settings, select system, software, go to console information, and then you could click serial number. So that's how you check for your system. And then for your DualSense, you select settings, accessory, general, advanced settings, and then view serial number. And then you could view your serial numbers on your PlayStation console. So, too, if you forgot that, if you can't find your box anymore and it's not on there, you can have your serial numbers as well now showing on your console, be able to read what you have, document it for whatever reason you need it, and you now can be able to check it for your controller too. So I think it's pretty cool. I like these little features, but also it's just another reason why to get PlayStation. So, and because not only do I do PlayStation news, I also like JRPG. So sometimes when I see PlayStation JRPG news that I like, I want to be able to share it with you guys. And going on the theme of Final Fantasy, the producer of Final Fantasy, this newest one, he's saying they are tightening up the last game in the trilogy because players have too much to do. Now, there was a lot of backlash of Rebirth. Fans were saying that there's just too many games, too much side quests. There's too much stuff to do in Rebirth, that it took away from the experience. The maps are too big, overall, I thought the Rebirth was great. I enjoyed playing through that game. It was a fun game. But I can see them kind of wanting to tighten it down because they're ending the game, but they also want to be able to, I think that they're going to have to add a lot more to kind of finish off this game. So adding a lot of things like, like more side quests than what they had and things like that. I think it would be, just too much for, I think the backlash would go even more. Now, I was a fan of Rebirth. I think the mini games were a little disappointing, some of them, but overall it wasn't like I didn't have to do them, but because I'm trying to get the platinum trophy, I did do them. But I think they weren't as exhausting as some mini games. If you ever played the Grand Legacy, that's a terrible one, worse than Rebirth. But I think the thing is, though, is if they didn't tie the mini games to like trophies, I think it'd probably have a much better feeling. Or even if they just had you kind of like dabble in it and not really like let you just try it, but not really using it for any kind of achievement to be able to do it. And then I think just having mini games there for you as like a way of saying, oh, we're going to take your mind off of you grinding through the story. So I think that's how mini games should work. I'm not a fan of you having to tighten it up, because are you just going to make it linear like you did with Remake, and then you don't have that much of an exploration on the map? Because you got to think, like, you have all that map ready to go. So are you going to be flying around to these different places, or are you going to tighten it up to where now you can't really explore the map as much as you can? And are you going to be able to let us, fly someplace, get knights all around, summon, and, if you're going to have quadra magic and things like that? Like, you think you got these ending materias that are great at the end of Final Fantasy VII, but are you going to tighten it up to where we can't explore how to get those like how the original was, because we have too much to do? So I think there's pros and cons to it. I'm not a fan of you having to tighten it up. I think just let us be able to explore. Let us do it. Come with the vision of the game that you wanted, and then be able to have that game as, if I don't have a lot of time, which I don't, then great, let me get through your game at my pace that I can play it. But I don't want it to be like dumbed down to the point where I can easily pass it in like 20 hours, because you want to be able to have it for people, like me, who don't have a lot of time but want to be able to get through your game. I think that ruins the experience, and especially with the franchise. Like, you brought in so many new people to Final Fantasy VII, should continue that legacy and be able to bring them in and just grow the popularity of that game. So yeah, that's just me. Want to end it there with Final Fantasy VII news. I'm super excited for the next one. Can't wait to be able to check it out. But, thank you guys so much for watching. Bringing up my last video, I did go over the little minor updates of the PlayStation Store. So check out that video, as well as I am in a weekly podcast with Dark Knight 316. We talk about gaming news, culture, anything related to gaming. We're going to talk about it. So it's just fun to give our ideas and thoughts about, gamers who've been playing games for a super long time. Look at these wrinkles, you could tell. But joking aside, definitely follow his channel, hear our podcast. Definitely be able to follow and subscribe there. Let's get this gaming podcast up to where you guys need it as true gamers. Be able to get your gaming podcast ready to go. So I definitely check that out. So appreciate you guys for sticking around this long. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you guys, and remember, keep gaming. Thanks, guys.